Samurai Assassins? Fat Samurai Guy here, and welcome to another episode of The Movie Dojo, where we discuss martial arts cinema and action films. Today in the dojo, I'm going to review Pound of Flesh. Here's a quick plot synopsis. A man's heroic attempt to help a woman in distress ends up with him waking up the next day without a kidney and plotting his revenge. Now I'm going to give you the good, I'm going to give you the bad, I'm going to give you the badass. First up, the good. I've always been a big fan of Van Damme. I grew up watching all of his films, including favorites of mine like Universal Soldier and Bloodsport. But as I got older, I started to slowly notice that some of his movies weren't as good as I thought they were. Meaning, I started to notice a lot of cheese. So when I became an adult, Van Damme movies became a guilty pleasure. For example, I would be hanging around all my buddies and we'd be talking about action films, and they would bring up, for example, Kickboxer or whatever. They'd be like, man, Kickboxer was booty, man, that movie was horrible. And I'll be like, yeah, you right, yeah. But then at home, I'd pop in Kickboxer and be like, Nooksuko, I want Dumpo, give me Dumpo. When Van Damme then started to make a lot of straight-to-video movies, I kind of stopped following him. Now, some of those movies were actually not bad, but there were a lot others out there that sucks. It wasn't until the amazing JCVD film came out that completely blew me away and had me view Van Damme in a whole new light. Van Damme the actor. It seemed after that slowly Van Damme's career started to get back on track after that amazing performance in JCVD, and he ended up starring in one of the most underrated badass action films, Universal Soldier Regeneration. This film came out the exact same year the very first Expendables came out, and in my opinion, I enjoyed this a lot better than Expendables. And then the unexpected happened. Expendables 2 comes out, and Van Damme stars as the main villain and plays a convincing villain. He's a fucking badass in this movie. Don't worry, I will be reviewing all 3 Expendable movies coming soon. So after those 3 films, I decided to follow and support his film and acting career, and immediately forgive him for his past sins. Well, maybe not all of them. But now when I go back and I watch some of his old films, the cheese is the charm. It just makes his films way more fun. Even Van Damme is enjoying the cheesier moments from his past films. In the action comedy Welcome to the Jungle, he pretty much spoofs himself, and then utter genius happens. He recreates his famous hilarious dance sequence on the Conan O'Brien show. So now let's talk about his career post-Expendables 2. So it kind of seems that Van Damme is back on track, and he starts to make a lot of straight-to-video films again. Now, some of them are actually solid action thrillers, like 6 Bullets or Assassination Games. But it just kind of seems like the majority of them just didn't capture the badassity that was Regeneration. But really, as far as I'm concerned, he really could have retired after Expendables 2, and I would have been perfectly fine with that. Which now brings us to his latest movie, Pound of Flesh. And the only good thing I can say is that, yet again, Van Damme does not phone in his acting performance in this film. And Darren, one of my favorite martial artists and stuntmen, finally gets some appropriate screen time. Unfortunately, Darren passed away last year in January, and he will be missed. R.I.P. Darren. But ever since I first saw him fight Jackie Wu in Tai Chi Boxer or Tai Chi 2, and against Gary Daniels in Blood Moon, I was really impressed. I was like, who is this guy, man? I've always wanted to see more of this guy's work. But every movie I see him in, he's always in the background. He's always wasted. I was at least pleased that he starred in the Mortal Kombat Legacy web series as Kano. And thankfully, he's not totally wasted in this movie. Now for the bad. Unfortunately, the writing, the characters, and the directing failed big time. Van Damme saving a female, getting screwed over, and wanting to take revenge on those that stole his kidney was enough. That should have been the film's focus. And the rest of the movie should have been like fucking balls to the walls destruction. But after his kidney is stolen, and you find out a little bit later in the film that he was going to give up his kidney anyway to save his niece, that kind of took some of the momentum and the tension away from what could have been something interesting. It would have made more sense, or it would have been more impactful if this plot device happened before his kidney was stolen. So here's some minor spoilers. Don't worry, it's not going to matter for this type of movie, okay? It's not going to matter, okay? But I have to go in a few things that really annoyed me. Van Damme slept with his brother's wife, meaning his niece is really his daughter. The mother has passed away, and he and his brother have not gotten along in years. Alright, here we go. Stay with me. So the villain looks up Van Damme's name on a list and knows that he's going to be a donor for his daughter at that particular hospital. So then the villain happens to pick out the perfect hooker that looks exactly like Van Damme's brother's wife to distract Van Damme, to set him up and steal his kidney. Are you hearing how stupid and absurd this sounds? It's almost as if they were writing the script while they were filming the movie. So he and his brothers reluctantly team up to fight the bad guys and get the kidney back. They run into the same hooker to get information. The hooker just straight comes out and says, I did it for the money, I'm very sorry. She then finds out about Van Damme's daughter, and then she decides to want to help. So after a couple of shootouts with the main villain, they end up taking her back to the brother's house to kind of keep a low profile. Here is where more annoyance and stupidity happens. The hooker eventually finds out that Van Damme cheated with his brother's wife. And she has the nerve to turn to Van Damme and say, how could you? Really? Really? Are you fucking kidding me? You have the gall to say that to the man that you framed, took his kidney, and now, because of this, his daughter will die. I'm surprised Van Damme didn't just bitch slap her after that. And this bothered me too. The whole entire time, the rest of the movie, the brother had absolutely no reaction to the hooker that just happens to look exactly like his wife. We didn't get any, my God, look at her. Or at least while he's serving her fucking coffee in the kitchen and some shit, like, you know, a little awkward moment, like, I'm sorry, but, you just look, you're the spit of my wife. It's very distracting. And nothing. And his character being very religious was annoying as well. He couldn't make up his mind or not if violence is the answer. So this dude was really annoying me to the point where he was just saying back and forth, we can't do this. We can't do it. We cannot cross the line. We gotta do something. My daughter's gonna die. We gotta do something. Shut up and make up your fucking mind. And here's the kicker. When he finally makes his mind up, the film's ending plays a cruel joke, which makes the whole action finale pointless. Now I know this movie is a low-budget film, okay? But dear God, the green screen effects were so bad, they just stood out like a sore thumb. For example, there was a fight sequence in a club, okay? Van Damme's in the club, you see him in the club, in a real club, okay? The brother's there in the club with him. After the fight was over, you see them in the club. You're looking at them. The camera's on both of them in the club. All of a sudden, it cuts to Van Damme standing in front of a horrible green screen background of a club. And then it would cut back to them in the club. And then it would show the green screen behind Van Damme again. It kept doing this back and forth. It was so distracting. Now, we all know that Van Damme is really old right now. Okay? And he probably needs a stunt double for more complicated takes. But the director did a horrible job showing his stunt double way too much. It was so bad, there was a scene at the end where you see Van Damme's character, his stunt double, get into the front seat of a van next to our lead characters, and the camera is right there on the side showing you that it's not Van Damme, and then all of a sudden the guy speaks, but you hear Van Damme's dubbing over it. It was so bad! It was like the director didn't even try, man. Pull that camera back or film it from the side or something. Don't make it blatantly obvious. Okay, now for the badass. Luckily, the fight scenes and stunts are very solid and really are the only good thing in this movie. We have a nice little car stunt with Van Damme doing the splits, of course, and some decent shootouts with some very well done combat spread throughout the film. And of course, the big bonus for me, because I'm a fan, we get to see Van Damme and Darren fight it out. Now, obviously, I would have wanted their confrontation to be a lot longer, but at least we got what we got. So overall, the decent fight scenes in the film were just not enough to save this film from its annoying characters and really dumb plot. Now, if you watch this film and you're not thinking too hard, it won't bother you. But for me, I've just seen way better Van Damme films. So I give Pound of Flesh 2.9 out of 5 ninja stars. Alright, that's it for today's episode of The Movie Dojo. If you have seen Pound of Flesh, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. And I will see you guys next week with my review of The Guyver 2 Dark Hero. See you next time.
Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe.